Okay, here we're going to do a brief comparison of Java and Racket lists. And we're going to start with two exercises for you to do. Okay, so the first one is I've got this list saved in the variable spam. And I want you to notice that this is different than Racket because we have two different types. We have a list and then we have a list node, so that's that internal stuff. And that distinction doesn't exist in Racket. And I'm going to have you pause the video to do two things. One is write code for how you could access the A, and assume that you're writing that code within the main method. And then how could you access or even modify that C? Okay, so the C is the third element's my data. And then above that code, try and write code that creates the list that we've got here named spam, and put that in a main method. Okay, so pause the video to do that task. Okay, before looking at your solution for either of them, I want you to try and do the same thing in Racket. So you're going to construct an equivalent Racket list and name it spam, and then I want you to get the A and get the C. And you should pause the video, but feel free to go back to the previous problem in case you catch any mistakes you made there. So you'll pause it and then I'll go over the answer next. Okay, so to make the list, I have list and it's parameterized. It takes type string. I've given it the variable name spam and I say it creates a new list and then again parameterized with string. And this is the zero argument constructor, and a constructor is a method with the same name as the name of the class called using the keyword new. And then we use that method we've seen before, add to front. And I'm adding the C, then the B, then the A. If I want to access the A, I follow spam.myhead.myData. And if I want the C, I follow spam, I follow myhead, then I follow my next to get to the one with the B, and then I follow my next one more time to get to the one with the C in it, and then .myData. Here I've got the solution for the Racket version as well. Okay, so on the left, I see how to make the ABC list in Java. And then in Racket, what we would have done is we could define the variable spam, give it the value of cons of A to cons of B to cons of C to the empty list. And remember, cons just add something to the front of a list. We have a replication of the code to get the A that we saw in the previous slide. And we know that we can use first and rest with Racket. So I could do first of spam to get the A. And to get the C, I can call rest and then first. So I think it's interesting to note with the spam, with Java, I had to get the head first and then get the data. The data was kind of like the equivalent of first. That's because we have this distinction between a list and a list node that we didn't have in Racket. And now check out this last one. We got the my head because of the difference between a list and a list node. So we get the first list node, and then we do my next, and then finally my data. And it's actually the same order, but with Racket, we always start on the inside. So it was rest, or the equivalent of my next, and then rest, the equivalent of my next, and then first, which is the equivalent of my data. So the order in which these get executed is actually the same process of walking through that data structure.